For the users that attend the Caddie 25 launch, this exercise may look familiar because in Caddie 25, clients ask that if you've got closed polylines, as you can see, if I select the one rectangle, Caddie confirms polyline closed, that when you're going to fill an area with a hatch, that Caddie auto-detect the closed polylines and create islands of those polylines. So I'm just quickly going to recap. We're just going to make use of a full color. My apply is set to inside and my island mode is set to auto. So all I do is I'm going to drag it, drop it, and I've filled the area. Then up to Caddie 25, you select the hatch, you right click, we go down to hatch, and we ask Caddie to add remove islands. And then we had the option that says auto detect closed polylines, and it creates the islands. So now the enhancement in Caddie 29 is that if we want to reverse it, so all you have to do is you can select the existing hatch, you're going to right click your CSM, we go down to hatch, and now you use the same command that says add remove island, but in that list you will see that there's a new one that says remove all islands. So I'm going to click on the command, and as you can see, it gets rid of all the islands, regardless if it's a closed polyline or if it's a circle profile or any profile, it gets rid of all the islands inside that hatched area. When it comes to adding your hatch patterns, sometimes you would like your patterns to align, so I'm going to make use of a normal pattern hatch. Now if I'm going to make use of the brick pattern first, if I'm going to drag it, drop it inside, as you can see, my angle is set to 0, so it's horizontal. So if I'm going to bring it into an area that's at an angle, it will display my pattern at the angle of 0, because the properties when I've created this pattern hatch was set to 0. Now the enhancement to Caddie 29 is that even if I'm bringing in the pattern hatch, I'm going to drop it inside, I'm not finished. If I read the command line, Caddie will ask us, indicate the inside area for hatch or island, but the new enhancement is that I can press H on the keyboard to change the angle. So I'm going to press H on the keyboard, and Caddie will ask us, indicate first point for angle, indicate the second point, and then Caddie will change the direction of the hatch according to your 2 points. So once again, you're on the right hand side. If I'm going to drag and drop my pattern inside, it will show horizontal, but if I read the command line and I make use of the H on the keyboard to change the angle, indicate the first point, indicate the second point, and as you can see, it changed the direction of the hatch, so it's now parallel according to those 2 points. Another example is, say for instance, a ceiling tile. So I'm going to drag and drop, because as you can see, I've got 3 different angles here. This one is horizontal. I'm happy with this one. I'm going to indicate the second one, but now I would like to change the angle, so I'm going to press H on the keyboard, indicate the first point, indicate the second point, and then I'm going to indicate the third area I want to fill, but I want to change the angle, H on the keyboard, indicate the first point, indicate the second point. And remember, at any stage you can select hatch and you can change the origin, so I would like those to align. So I'm going to select the existing hatch, right click, we go down to hatch, and beside move origin, and I'm going to indicate the new origin. Let's go to this side as well. I'm going to select the existing hatch, right click, we go down to hatch, I'm going to say move origin. This is the existing command. It's just bring under your attention that if for some reason you would like your pattern hatch to align, after you set the angle, it still can be done. When it comes to working with transparency, the majority make use of 2 options. Option 1 will be working by layer. So if I go to my layer set, you've got your layer name, you can work color by layer, and then you see this option that says transparency. Now as you can see, all of them are set to 0 except layer 128. 128 has got a transparency set to 35%. That means anything that's getting drawn on that layer will have a transparency of 35%, regardless if it's lines, text, hatch, dimensions, any object will have a transparency. So that's option number 1. Option number 2 is, as you can see on the right hand side, I haven't applied transparency to it. So up to Caddie 28, you select the object, and in object properties you go down in the list and you're going to ask Caddie, when it comes to my transparency, let's make this object 50% transparent, and as you can see, it did update. So new to Caddie 29 is that if you're going to go to your quick hatch, you'll see I've already set up some pre-settings for my hatches that I used here on the left hand side. So now I'm going to show you how to add your own new hatch. So you're going to right click, you're going to say add to list, and you're going to say add full hatch. Now this is not only applicable to full, it can be a pattern as well. As you can see on the right hand side, the new enhancement is your transparency option. So if it's set by layer, It means it will look at what is your layer setting. Like I showed you, 128 will have a 35% and transparent. If it's set to default, it means the color you see is the color it's going to use, so there's no actually transparency to it. Or I can ask Caddie that doesn't matter on what layer I'm going to make use of, that this particular green RGB color will have a transparency of 50%. So I'm going to say OK, it's added to the list. I make use of layer 130. So if I go back to the set, just so you can see 130, there's no transparency. So I'm going to say zoom in, and depends on what is your setting, drag or click. So I'm going to indicate where I want to apply the hatch, and as you can see, there's a transparency to it. So let's just finish up with this drawing. Let's add some there, and let's add one there, and some hatch over there. So now you notice that there's some what we call closed objects. Now we're going to apply a shadow to it. This last color that you see in the list, that one is set to by layer. I'm going to change to layer 128 because I know it's got a transparency of 35%. So all I have to do is I'm going to say click, indicate my closed object, and as you can see, it already gives us a preview of the transparency. I'm just apply to these closed objects. I'm going to zoom in. Alright, apply to all of them. Now I made use of layer states, so I'm just going to switch off those lines that you see there. So there's our end product by adding transparency to your hatch from the start.